Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture for the course Refrigeration and Air Conditioning. Today we will continue with the vapor absorption system and we'll see some points about PT Zeta chart, capacity control and solar refrigeration system. Myself Sumit Bardia, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Sharad Institute of Technology, College of Engineering, etc. Today we will see the following points such as PT Zeta chart, capacity control, introduction to solar refrigeration system, classification of solar cooling technologies, absorption system, adsorption system, desiccant systems and ejector system. So those are the types of solar cooling technology that we will see one by one. First we'll go through the PT Zeta chart. So the vapor pressure data of water lithium bromide solutions. We have seen the lithium bromide refrigeration system, vapor absorption refrigeration system. So related to that, we will see the P Zeta, what is that and how we are going to calculate some parameters by using this PT Zeta chart. So it is very conveniently represented in the Duhering plot. It is also called as Duhering plot. So in the Duhering plot, the temperature of the solution is plotted as abscissa on the linear scale. Here the solution temperature. The saturation temperature of pure water is plotted as ordinate on the right hand side, and the pressure on the logarithmic scale is plotted as ordinate on left hand side. The plot shows the pressure temperature values for various concentration lines, we can also call it as isosters, which are linear on Duhering plot. Now here figure shows Duhering plot. The Duhering plot can be used for finding the vapor pressure data and also for plotting the operating cycle. Other types of charts showing the vapor pressure data for water lithium bromide system are also available in the literature. Whereas the mass fraction of lithium bromide is plotted on abscissa, while saturation temperature of pure water and vapor pressure are plotted as ordinates. So same are used to calculate the particular vapor pressure data and other parameters also. These charts are used. Now next is the capacity control. Capacity control means capacity reduction depending upon load as well as capacity will be maximum without any control. Again I am repeating, capacity control means capacity reduction depending upon load as the capacity will be maximum without any control. Normally under both full as well as part loads, the outlet temperature of chilled water is maintained at a near constant value. The refrigeration capacity is then regulated by, here I have listed the regulation that is, first regulating the flow of weak solution pumped to the generator. So we need to regulate the flow rate of weak solution pumped to the generator, which we are supplying to the generator. We are already discussed in the previous lecture, that is we need to make a constant pressure throughout the system. So in order to go for constant pressure, we need to regulate its capacity also. So first regulation is flow rate of weak solution pumped to the generator, that we need to regulate. Second, reducing the generator temperature by throttling the supply steam. Okay, by throttling the supply steam, the generator temperature we can reduce it. Increasing the condenser temperature by bypassing some of the cooling water supplied to the condenser. So that also we need to regulate, or increasing the condenser temperature by using the bypassing some of the cooling water supplied to the condenser. Now here method 1, that is regulating the flow rate of weak solution, does not affect the COP significantly. as the required heat input reduces with reduction in Wick's solution flow rate. Since this may lead to the problem of crystallization, many times a combination of the above three methods are used in the commercial systems in order to control the capacity. Okay. Now we will see the last point of this chapter, that is solar refrigeration system, that is included to enhance the knowledge. So any researcher will interest in the solar refrigeration, they can lead towards this point. Now, what is solar refrigeration? Now today the increase of requirements for indoor cooling demands improves the human comfort inside residential buildings, reduces the divergence between the energy supply and energy demand by using a low grade heat sources such as solar energy and maybe industrial waste heat, that lowers the CO2 emissions in the building sector due to use of air conditioning system, and finally reduces the peak of energy consumption of air conditioning processes generated by the use of conventional vapor compression system, especially during summer period for the buildings and spaces that have high latent loads. So all about these reasons make the solar cooling as in that been received much more attention as innovative, efficient and eco-friendly as alternative options for conventional air conditioning systems. The building sector is considered as a major contributor to energy consumption in the world. Numerically, that is around 41.1% of the total energy in the US was consumed in the building sector in 2011 and is expected to increase to up to 42.1% in 2035. Even in Europe, buildings consume for 39% of the total energy consumption, which 26% is for residential and 13% for commercial buildings or commercial or industries. Now in China, 25 to 30% of the total energy is consumed by the civil and industrial buildings. Same scenario in the Australia also, which consumes 40% of the total energy produced. Now, according to the report issued by EU Strategy, the energy consumption for cooling and heating in buildings demonstrated is about 80%. Here it is written about 80%. Although less than 20% is presently exploited for cooling purposes, the domestic cooling buildings still have a high potential for growth. Moreover, the use of innovative low energy cooling technology for heating and cooling will bring fuel savings of 5 MTOE per year in 2030, corresponding to 9 million ton of CO2. Therefore, the annual energy for air conditioning purposes for room was increased, which was 1.7 gigawatt hour in 1990. Now it is reached to, now means in 2010 it is reached to almost 44 gigawatt hour. So that is the huge difference in the annual energy consumption. Now it is stated that the solar system was able to contribute up to 70% of total energy consumption for heating and air conditioning for domestic buildings. Many solar cooling technologies such as solar absorption, solar adsorption, desiccant and ejector systems have been studied by the researchers. So from that it is solar absorption is the most widely used technology with 59% of the installed units in Europe itself. Many investigations have been done on solar thermal driven absorption systems in the small range of refrigeration capacity like 5 to 30 kilowatt, and same will be guide or design guide for the cooling is continuing in the research also. Okay, so solar cooling technologies are a promising alternative in the future itself. Now, classification of solar cooling technology. Solar cooling systems are can be classified into two main categories, that is according to the energy used to drive them, that is solar powered vapor compression system and thermoelectric cooling system. In solar thermal cooling system, the cooling process is driven by solar collectors collecting solar energy and converting it to the thermal energy, and uses this energy to drive thermal cooling systems such as absorption, adsorption, desiccant cycles. Whereas in solar electric cooling systems such as absorption, adsorption, desiccant and ejector systems, solar electric cooling systems, electrical energy that is provided by PVs, that is solar PVs panel, is used to drive conventional electric vapor compression air conditioning system. Okay, so both types of solar cooling can be used in industrial and domestic refrigeration and air conditioning processes with up to 95% saving in electricity. That should be noted. Now, electric driven solar refrigeration systems, in that in general the solar electrical cooling system consists of two parts, that is photovoltaic panel and electrical refrigeration device. Photovoltaic cells transform light into electricity through photoelectric effect. The power generated by solar PV panel is supplied either to the vapor compression system, thermoelectrical system or Stirling cycle. Okay, and next category is solar powered vapor compression system. Here it is, Photovoltaic powered refrigerators are an alternative option to produce cooling in remote areas of developing countries. So photovoltaic cell converts the incident solar radiation to DC power, which can drive the compressor of vapor compression system. This system consists of a DC compression refrigerator connected to the controller. Here it is shown, the figure is given. Consists of DC compression refrigerator connected to a controller. Here it is. A battery to supply and store energy, and photovoltaic generator which supplies the refrigerator and charges the battery with excess energy. The main advantage of this system compared to other air conditioners is that it does not require an outside fuel supply. In order to run the system at highest efficiency, the voltage should be close to the voltage produced at the maximum possible power. So that is the requirement here, okay, to run at highest efficiency. Next is the thermoelectric cooling system, which is also called as a Peltier cooling systems. Thermoelectric device uses or utilizes the Peltier effect to make a temperature gradient by creating heat flux between the two different types of semiconductors materials. The main principle of working thermoelectric cooling is shown in figure here and follows these steps. An electric current flows across the joint, here P and N type of semiconductor materials, by applying a voltage. When the current passes through the junctions of the two conductors, heat is removed at one junction and absorbs heat from its surrounding space to create a cooling effect. So here heat absorbing surface and heat rejecting. So heat is deposited at the other junction. When the direction of a current is reversed, the air conditioning system operates in the heating manner due to the reverse of the heat flow process. The main advantages of using thermoelectric cooling compared to vapor compression cycle is compact and lightweight due to no bulky compressor units needed, no moving parts, environment friendly due to no hazardous gases, silent operation, high reliability in which a mean time failures is more than 1 lakh hour, precise temperature stability in which a tolerance of better than plus or minus 0.1 degree Celsius, and finally cooling heating mode option which is fully reversible with switch in polarity and supports rapid temperature cycling. On the other side, high cost and low efficiency are the main disadvantages. Okay, that is about the thermoelectric cooling systems. Now we will heading towards the solar thermal cooling systems. In that, first one is absorption systems. The absorption refrigeration cycle is one of the oldest refrigeration technologies. Absorption refrigeration cycle operates under the same principle as the conventional vapor absorption refrigeration cycle in the reference side. The mechanical compressor in the conventional vapor compression cycle is replaced by a thermal compressor in the absorption refrigeration cycle. The thermal compressor consists of absorber and generator. Here it is shown, absorber and generator, which is replaced by the compressor. The absorption chiller cycle consists of the rich solution will be pumped from the absorber to the generator. We have seen earlier here. A rich solution or strong solution is pumped from the absorber to the generator here, passing through the heat exchanger, we can call as an economizer here, through the heat supply in the generator from the driving heat source. A part of coolant will be driven out from the rich solution and flows to the condenser. After that, the remaining poor solution flows back to the absorber. In the condenser, the refrigerant vapor from the generator condenses in the condenser. The heat of condensation must be rejected at the intermediate temperature level by the use of the cooling water supplied from a cooling tower. So here the 19 is nothing but a cooling water supply is also there for condenser to cool. The refrigerant condensate flows back to the evaporator here at low pressure through an expansion device or throttling device, and the cycle of the coolant then repeats. In the evaporator, the refrigerant is vaporized at very low pressure to produce the cooling power by extracting heat from the low temperature medium. The coolant vapor flows to the absorber. Now in the absorber, the refrigerant vapor is absorbed by the poor solution here, it is come here, which flows back from the generator passing the economizer and the throttle. Now then the heat of absorption and mixing is rejected by the cooling water stream supplied from the cooling tower. After that, the cycle of the solution will repeat again. So like that the absorption system works. We can use the solar also for the requirement of any electricity here. So the system will be more efficient. The two main pairs of refrigerant or absorbent that is widely used here, we have already discussed, that is lithium bromide water absorption system and ammonia water absorption system, where water is a refrigerant and LiBr is an absorbent. Okay, so we have seen the advantages and disadvantages of absorption system, that is non-toxic substances, low working pressure, non-volatile absorbent. Okay, so that is all about the absorption system. But the disadvantage, you need to remember that the systems have bigger sizes as the components are more as compared to vapor compression system. Risk of corrosion is there, and risk of crystallization of solution at very low cooling temperature. So that we need to understand and we need to remember this while designing any absorption system. Now next is adsorption system. Adsorption system is similar to the absorption reference cycle. The difference between adsorption and absorption is that the refrigerant is absorbed on the internal surface of highly porous solid material instead of refrigerant being absorbed by the liquid solution. In the adsorption system, the solid sorbent and refrigerant form the absorption pairs such as activated carbon ammonia, activated carbon methanol, activated carbon ethanol, silica gel water and zeolite water. So these are the sorbent and the absorption pair, adsorption pairs. Now adsorption is a physical or chemical process that is different from absorption, which is a chemical process generally. Just as there is an attraction between a liquid and solid at a surface, adsorption is a surface phenomenon which can be divided into physical adsorption and chemical adsorption. Physical adsorption generally resulted by van der Waals forces through physical process, and chemical adsorption is usually achieved by valency forces through chemical process. The heat of adsorption is usually large in chemical adsorption and small in physical adsorption. Adsorbent substances can be retained to original properties by a desorption process under the application of heat. Now here the adsorption reference cycle consists of two sorbent chambers. One is here in the figure, that is condenser, and an evaporator. So these two are sorption chambers. This adsorption cycle achieves a COP of 0.3 to 0.7 depending upon the driving heat temperature of 55 to 90 degrees Celsius. Now here the figure shows the adsorption cycle solar cooling system. The working cycle of 5 to 7 minutes consists of 4 steps. First step, the adsorbed water is desorbed after the application of thermal energy or solar energy. The collector becomes the generator. Okay. In the second step, desorbed refrigerant is cooled and condensed to liquid in the condenser here by rejecting heat through the cooling water supplied from the cooling water. In the third step, the condensed water flows through the expansion valve to the evaporator, where it vaporizes under low partial pressure and low temperature in the evaporator while the useful cooling is produced. Then the heat is taken away from the chilled water. Now in the fourth and final step, the vaporized water is absorbed in the collector using the silica gel, is saturated, then it is switched to the second adsorber chamber. The circuit is completed as the condensed water is fed back into the evaporator through the valve. Now the function of two sorption chambers, that is condenser and evaporator, are reverse, alternating the opening of butterfly valves and the direction of heating and cooling refrigerants. In this way, the chilling refrigerant is obtained continuously. Thus the cycle repeats here. Now next is desiccant systems. The desiccant air conditioning system utilizes the capability of desiccant materials in removing the air moisture contained by the sorption process. All materials that attract moisture at different capacities are called desiccant. Again I am repeating, all materials that attract moisture at different capacities are called desiccant. Desiccant cooling system can be suitable selection for thermal comfort, especially in climates with high humidity. This technique allows us to utilize renewable energy or low temperature gains from solar energy, waste heat and cogeneration to drive the cooling cycle. Now the comparison between the desiccant system and conventional system, the table is shown here. There are many required properties for any desiccant material selected in open cycle cooling: best mechanical and chemical stability, large moisture capacity per unit weight, low heat of absorption to regenerate, sorption rate, large capacity at low water vapor pressures, cheap cost, sorption at low relative humidity, and finally ideal isotherm shape. Now here we will see the table, that is comparison between desiccant and conventional system. Here the parameter is given, that is operation cost, performance, energy source, environmental safety, system care, control over humidity, indoor air quality, system installation, energy storage capacity, installation cost, and lastly system control. So these are the parameters, are the comparison parameters with the desiccant and conventional system. Operating cost conventional is high, in desiccant low. Performance is high, in desiccant it is low. Energy source, here electricity in conventional system, here low grade energy like solar energy we can use it here. Environmental safety less, here high. System care high in the desiccant. Control over humidity is accurate in the desiccant system. Indoor air quality is more. System installation more complicated in the desiccant system. Energy storage capacity is applicable here. Installation cost is very low in desiccant, and system control is complicated in the desiccant system as compared to the conventional system. So these are the some comparison parameters which will more efficient, or we can use it as a desiccant system wherever it is possible. Okay. Now next one is ejector system. A solar driven ejector cooling system consists of ejector, cooling cycle and a collector circuit. The main components of the system are collector array, here itself collector arrays, generator, ejector, condenser, expansion valve, here it is expansion valve, evaporator and cycle pump, here it is evaporator and here it is cycle pump. Now the figure is shown here in the slide. In the generator, the refrigerant is vaporized as a primary steam by utilizing the solar energy coming from the solar collector. This primary steam leaves the generator at a relatively high pressure, enters the supersonic nozzle of the ejector, here it is, to accelerate it at supersonic velocity and creating low pressure at the nozzle exit section here. This low pressure draws the secondary flow coming from the evaporator here into the chamber. The primary and secondary streams are mixed in the mixing chamber. This mixing steams enters into the diffuses where increases its pressure to the condensing pressure here in this chamber. The mixing stream discharges from the ejector to the condenser here, where the stream is converted into liquid refrigerant by rejection of heat to the surrounding. Some part of the liquid refrigerant pumps to the generator and the remaining liquid part leaves the condenser and enters the evaporator through the expansion valve. In expansion valve, the refrigerant pressure is dropped and this refrigerant enters the evaporator to absorb heat from the space that required to cool, and refrigerant is converted into vapor and enters to the ejector again. Okay, so that is the process of the ejector system. Here the that ejector nozzle is shown here, then mixing stream, mixing chamber, all of this, diffuser, all here it is shown, primary stream and secondary stream. Okay, so that is about the ejector system. So these are the classification of solar cooling systems technologies we can use with respect to our applications. Everywhere, even where the electricity is not available, we can use these systems also. Okay, so that is about the solar refrigeration system or solar cooling technologies. Next we will heading towards the next point of this chapter. Okay, in the next lecture. Thank you.